Adrian, I know you're actually prepping for an MBA, starting your MBA, right?
Yes, and
Um,
I'm now considering CFP over MBA. I don't know. I need to figure my life out. But as of last weekend, I'm like, maybe I should look at a CFP over an MBA.
and yeah,
I'm only 7 years to grad school now, so I'm like, ugh.
yeah, um, and that's tough. That's where actually I like just looking at your LinkedIn. I mean, it seems like CFP kind of is leans to more towards what you're interested in doing. It seems like, but I might go. Something I always recommend to people in transition. One of my favorite books when they're trying to figure out what's next is Designing Your Life, and it's a class. It's actually the most popular class at Stanford, and then those two professors then wrote the book, and it's the words. If you just read the words, it's not going to do that much, like. But it's the exercises that kind of force that introspective look of, and hopefully that'll helps refine. Hey, do I want to get the MBA? Because I tend to think of MBA more for corporate stuff, whereas it seems like you are more interested in kind of people's personal finance and helping them along. That's just what my assumption. I could be completely wrong, but just what I
Yeah,
gathered from. So that anyway, that to me, that might um, help refine that. And like too many people I see in the military, they're going to transition. They want to use their GI Bill, and so they're like, I'm going to go get my MBA and do this, and it's like, why? What are you doing it for? And so that's where I like that book because it helps. We've only got so much time,
that's
so
true.
that's the most limited resource. So what do let's make sure we spend it on what matters. So okay, well, I think we've got enough enough people. And if you guys don't mind coming on video, that helps me when I'm presenting these, just to um, uh, see if you guys are
Right.
bored or move on. And how many? So I think everybody here, Adrian, you probably likely will be at some point. Look at this. Take the CFP exam, or who's taking it? Are people taking it in November? Anybody taking it? Plan on taking it in July, November? Leslie, yeah. I'm driving. No, no worries, no worries, Lawrence. Good to see you again at Neil MoneyCon. Um,
I was telling you, I
eh,
just did it in
yeah.
March.
In March, yep. And
Yeah.
so and Patrick, I know you've got to drop it at 2 o'clock Pacific, but Patrick and I have known each other for a couple of years. Just as he was getting into studying this, and he just passed the exam in March. So congratulations, and so he has more recent perspective. That I thought, if you had any, actually, Patrick, why don't I hand it over to you to see if there's anything specifically you want to share that you found useful, and things that they can take away right now.
Okay. Yeah, I just rewatched your last one of these, so I know what you're gonna go over too, and try to give you a little bit of newer stuff or different stuff
Yeah.
than Alan will. Um, I think 2025 is the year that CFP board is gonna do the, what do they call it? Practice standards review. So there is going to be a point in the next like year or so where you might start seeing actual changes to like um, what's actually tested and what the curriculum is. I think if you're planning to take it in the next couple cycles, it doesn't really matter that much. But if you're starting from scratch, that might be something just to keep in the back of your mind that it could be different. And I think the psychology portion is going to continue to ramp up because that's a relatively new area. And right now it's purely definitional for the most part. Pretty easy as long as you can knock out flashcards. There's only a few review programs out there. I know, I think Alan talks about Dalton mostly.
Yeah.
The one I did was Boston Institute of Finance. I think he might agree. All of them work as long as you know, do the recommended steps and you take the appropriate time, basically. I know he's going to talk about OneNote, which I have now been converted over to. Um, let's see. Oh, study group. If you can do it with people from other review groups, other review programs. I think it was really helpful, not only to just go over the questions, but also to teach people in other groups like difficult concepts. I had 2 teachers transitioning over, and I thought that was actually really great because they're really good at teaching, right? Um, yeah, and I think that's mostly it. Don't be surprised if the beginning of the test, like once you understand the format, the beginning of the test, I feel like a lot of people found that it was harder than they expected, and then it actually, gets easier, the second, third, and fourth portions. And there are definitely, I've heard out there, there are definitely different kind of versions within the same cycle. So you do need to prepare for kind of all the aspects in case you get, tested on one area heavily, I guess you would say.
And they have it split out of what percent, how many questions per section, and I agree. So Shelly and Sarah, you guys came in just a few minutes after Patrick started. I'll just kind of quickly summarize what he's shared. One, Patrick just passed the CFP exam in March, so congratulations there. And we've known each other for a few years as he was working on his path down towards, to get into the CFP. And he mentioned one that they're likely going to change the practice standards some, and it's probably going to be there's going to be continued more emphasis on psychological that aspect, which I agree with, and it was already happening when I was passed the exam back in July 2023. That they just started ramping that up, so I'd expect that to continue to be a more important aspect. Just the fact that because that's so much of what being technically smart is important, but it's the human side that they're realizing is really what we probably spend more of our time with. But also getting into study groups. Speaking of study groups, most of you you're all in the CFP group. When I was in this group back when I was prepping, it was a lot more active, and we were asking each other questions. People were taking questions from the exam bank, like, I don't get this, I put this, and there was a lot more help inside the Facebook group. So I'd like to see that again, but it's been kind of, Brian Daly and I were both like, man, the last couple of classes have been like just quiet, like nobody's, helping each other out, it seemed like. And that's what I found. It was pretty, surprisingly effective, but that, he had mentioned having study groups. So anything else, Patrick, you want to share?
No, I don't think so. I think nowadays, Biff Bytes, I think is like one of the main like audio resources out there. There's tons of other ones, and there are a few, like you were saying, still very active people on those forums that are willing to help people out. Like they stick around to help people out, especially those ones that there's a couple people in there that actually failed a couple times, and then they finally got that pass, and they have stuck around kind of to help other people out. And I think that's really, really awesome that they do that.
Yeah. Adrian, you got.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask one, what was the group you just mentioned? You said it's an audio group or something? Is it a Facebook group, LinkedIn?
For me or Patrick?
Patrick was just saying this.
Okay, Biff Bytes is a podcast, like they're a great audio resource, and I think you can buy stuff right from them that have.
So they are now. They used to only do CFP education, and then within the last 3 years or so, they are a full another review provider as well. That is the one I used. Boston Institute of Finance is the program, and the podcast that they do is Biff Bytes. And I believe every cycle now they have a question palooza. Like they have like a question from each domain, you would say, and they go through it. So you can probably go back 6-7 cycles or so and find an episode that has one question from every area. I think that's a nice thing to do as you're getting closer, maybe towards the end. Like you've gone through all yours, you need a couple audio resources, maybe like some of them are going to be a little bit softball, especially I know that some of these programs are pretty intense now. So
yep. And I know Brian Daly, you can probably ask in the Facebook group, he used something as well where he would just listen to it at the gym when he was there, that was something similar. there. So, but no, that's that's good. And okay, well, Patrick, if you as things come up when I start explaining, let me know if you want to add anything else. But as he kind of already alluded to, and I think you guys all know, first off, CFP exam, there's no easy pass. There's no easy button to get through this exam. It's a 6 hour and 40-minute exam, 170 questions at the top end of the difficulty of questions, where you don't have to. It's not just understanding definitions, but you have to be able to know the material and apply it. And there's likely 2 question answers that are good, and you have to figure out which one's better. So it's no joke. And I remember thinking this. We just were Lawrence, in that best that, and Brandon were at that best that test thing, and something I remember at this conference we were at. It reminded me is like when I was in college, I didn't study quite as hard, but sometimes I'd learn things on the exam. You don't have time to do that. And training, like in the military, what I learned about training and the importance of it is when you're examined, when things fall apart, when casualties happen, you don't rise to some Superman level or something like that. You fall to the level of your training. And that's why this studying is so important. If you look at the Dalton prep course, they say it's going to take 15 to 20 hours a week of that's what's expected. When you think about that, and they say take Sunday off, 1 day off, but 6 days a week, that's basically 3+ hours a day. That's a lot. And so you got to figure out when does that work for you? So it's a lot, and it needs to be focused. But the quick question is: everybody comfortable with the calculator? Are you guys using? Do you guys all use the HP 10B II plus? Yep. So sure you're comfortable with it. If you don't, before you get into the Dalton prep course, start working through that, because that's the last thing. Those math problems, while they initially might seem hard, are like give me's on the exam, and that's what they even say. So you just get the practice and running through it. Those should be the easy questions for you to answer. I bought a second one, so I changed out my batteries 2 weeks before the exam, and I bought a spare one on Amazon just in case, because I didn't want to walk into the exam and for some reason my calculator's not working. Can you imagine how crappy that would be? So I just bought another one. I returned it, but just to be ultimately prepared, I had another one with me just in case. So because you just don't you solve for any of those variables that you can resolve that'll prevent stress in the moment. Take care of it, and that was one of them, is having an extra calculator there, and the same exact one. Let's see. Okay, so this might sound weird, but my overall approach to the exam was what I call humble confidence. Humble in that I worked in a different industry, just like Patrick as well. Run the satellite network. So this wasn't I was doing all this stuff on the side, and I knew that if I just thought I was smart and walked in and took the exam, that I was going to fail. But if I did the hard work and put my head down and got really prepared, I would pass the exam. That was the confidence. So that the too often for me, people just expected me to pass the exams, whatever, and I think it's only my brother that realizes it's not because I'm super smart or something that I pass exams, but it's because I put in the effort and I do the hard work to make sure that I achieve success on the exams. And that's what you need to do for the CFP exam. Too many people I know, I wish Brian Daly was in here, because he was a perfect example of, he's wasn't ready for it because he hadn't prepped. Then he failed the exam. Why? Because he didn't work. And I kind of gave him some tough love on it. You didn't work hard enough. He's been in the industry and just thought he'd kind of pass it, but it's hard. It's for those of you who don't know, I'll just explain it. It's like having 4 different exams you take. So it's 170 questions and broken up into first half of 85 questions. But the 85 questions are 2 tests. You have to answer 43 questions, submit it, cannot go back to them, and then answer another set of 42 questions. And that's part 1, I guess you could say, that you need to complete within 3 hours. So you kind of have to be watching your time and not spend too much time on those 43, those first 43 questions, and just get it in so you're not, stressing to answer the second half. Then you get a 40-minute break, which is more like 25 minutes. I brought like some just healthy snacks, like some hard-boiled eggs, some pistachios or something, just some things that wasn't a lot of sugar, but it was going to help. I think it wasn't going to make me tired, but give me energy for the next 3 hours taking that second section, which is another 85 questions, again, broken down into 43 and 42, where you have to submit each one. So it's no joke. I mean, 6 hours and 40 minutes, that's a long time exam. And I mean, how many, do you guys have test anxiety in general? I think all of us do for something like this. On I guess I know everybody's got a busy life, but just so you know, it can be achieved even when you're really busy. I was burning the candle at 4 ends when my day job, of course, picked up crazy. I still had the final CHFC class to take while I was starting the Dalton Prep course, and we were doing remodels at the house, and specifically my office. So there was a lot going on, and that was in April. In May, I was like, I guess about a week ago today, I was like, did I make a big mistake? Taking on too much at once. But it was the right time for me because November wouldn't have worked. So what I did was I just crushed my way through that last class because I needed something off my plate. It was just too many plates spinning. And so even though I fell behind on the Dalton Prep course, I at least got that last class done. That was out, and then I only had 3 things that I was really, trying to manage. But it'll work if you stay disciplined and to it. And so part of that goes into how do you learn yourself. I took their. They provide you a schedule, and I tried to keep to that as much as I could. But what I realized is I kind of did it stupid. And if I redid it, I've never been somebody that reads to learn it, curriculum material. What I like is somebody to teach it to me and then quiz myself. That's how I learn. And I wasted a lot of time reading it because that's what they said to do. And so they press for the Dalton Prep course to take the exam bank 2 full times. And when I had, I did the guaranteed to pass, but I couldn't even finish the exam bank once. Had I studied more my method, I probably would have been able to get through more, and it would have been better. But you got to make sure you understand how you learn. What I would do instead is I would have listened to the videos, go and taken sample questions. When I didn't get something and I couldn't figure it out from their explanation, then I'd go back and probably read it, where I could quickly look up, search the material for what I was looking for, what I didn't understand. But that's me. But you got to know how you learn best, and that's how I learned: is somebody teach it. Let me quiz myself. Oh, I didn't get that clearly because I got it wrong, and then that's how I really learned. And so you can be much more efficient, I think, so long as you're using how you learn yourself. Don't forget to exercise. Like, people get kind of like, I'm too busy. You need exercise. The exercise helps your brain. It'll help you study better. Everything. It helps you sleep. And a lot of times, what I found, I read Peak Performance. That was something that came in this best test. Not completely through it yet, but one of the things they talk about is being focused. And I can't say that enough of, you've got to be focused when you're studying. And when's your time? For me, with everything going on, I got up at 5 a.m. and that's when I did my CFP studies because that was my time. That there was no other distractions. Nobody else was up, and I could work on it. But if I wasn't focused, and we're not always, there's certain, so I would not. I had a friend in college who used to just like bang his head trying to study books for hours and hours and hours. And he's like, dude, you study like people take breaks and take breaks like people study. And I was like, that's what works for me. I'm like, if I'm focused, when I'm studying, I'm focused. If I'm not, I know I'm wasting my time. And so I'll go do something else. And a lot of times exercise is what does that best because it clears my brain and then I can re-engage. But just know that there's times you're not going to be focused. So go do something to, whether it's sweat or something, so that you can come back and actually be focused because that's what you need really to learn things. Let's see. I also towards the end, I changed my style of exercise. When I was doing cardio, instead of doing like jogging or rowing machine or bike, I started walking uphill on a treadmill, and that way I could review the material, like the live classes and the office hours. I could review those, listening to them at 2 times speed, or 1.5, 2 times speed, while I'm sitting there getting my zone 2 workout in, and it worked great because your brain's actually working better. And yet you're still getting the exercise in. So I know certain people, Angela, want to break those apart from each other, but that's what worked for me with everything I had going on at the time. I'd sit there and listen in the car, but that workout allowed me to actually be able to study while I was exercising. And Patrick already kind of said this early on about you might walk into the exam. When I walked in the exam, I thought I was prepared at this point. And then I had to flag the first 4 questions. Not a good start, like, holy crap, that's going to happen potentially. Just take a deep breath and keep moving on. You know what I mean? Like I was like thinking maybe this is gonna be a longer day than I expected. But when I submitted it, I was confident that I passed the exam by the end. But that's how it started. And I was like, oh, this could be a long day. And then we'll get into organization, which to me is the key. That's what OneNote does for me. And hopefully you guys will be believers after. Hey, Zach, what's going on? But first, I'll go into what I did for my final 3 to 4 week battle rhythm to get in there. On the Dalton prep, you're going to have the exam readiness review, I think 4 weeks out. And if you're on the guaranteed to pass, you have to get a 70 on that. It's 50 questions, but it's their best data tool of where your predictability of passing the exam. They've done this so many times, that it's their best metric of where you're at, and take that score might show you whether, hey, maybe I should put this off until the next exam cycle, or I'm good to go. A lot of people still, even though they might have scored low on it, went and just did a little extra hard work and passed anyway. But that you need to get a 70 on to get the guarantee, which if you get a 70 on it, you have like a 98 or 99% chance of passing already. So it kind of made me frustrated with Dalton. Like, wait, so once I've guaranteed that I'm going to pass, you'll guarantee it. So you kind of already had to guarantee that you were going to pass the exam for them to give you the actual guarantee. But they along with that, there's practice exams. Those are not diagnostic tools to see whether you can pass the exam, but they are good and to show you where your weaknesses are and give you that endurance of, holy crap, this is what a 6-hour and 40-minute exam feels like. You know what I mean? So I would take the Dalton ones are harder than the CFP provided one, but I would take a Dalton, then I would take a CFP, the exam, and then the other Dalton. But don't do those within like 5 days of the exam because you're going to be tired. So you want to space, do those at least complete all those at least a week before it's game time, so that you're fully rested. on the coaching call that I had, that I'd done probably 750 of the 2,000 questions, and they're like, "You've got to do this. Is an absolute requirement. You have to get through the exam bank, and you should try to get through it twice." I've got like 4 weeks left to take the exam. I took their advice and threw it out the window because here's how I saw it. I could spend all my time and try to answer as many questions as possible, and I might get a couple of those really hard questions right on the exam. Or I can go back and review everything, and every question is worth the same amount, whether it's an easy question or a hard question. And what I knew is if I hadn't looked at the stuff, at everything, at least had a touch on it, then I'd be sitting there taking the exam and I'd be like, damn it, it'd be an easy question, but I'd be like, damn, I haven't looked in this for over 2 months. And I'd probably get it wrong. And so instead of focusing on just on those super hard questions, I went back and reviewed everything and made sure I felt comfortable in all subject areas. And to me, that was far more effective. And there was many more questions that I believe I got right because of doing that than taking a couple additional exam questions. Like I said, if I could go back, I wouldn't have read all the stuff because I'm a slow reader, and that's not how I gain the material. I gain it by being taught. Yes, Shelley, I did pass on the first time. And I would have been able to get through more of the exam bank, but that was where I was at in crunch mode, and what I thought was best was to review everything, and that was effective. So I went back and watched all the live classes again. Went through all the office hours again, and like I said, I even did that. Even exercising, just walking uphill on a treadmill, so that I could sit there and study while I'm exercising. I listen to a lot of podcasts like you guys probably do, so at 2 times speed or 1.5, so you can get through the material much faster. But that was important. I already mentioned what I did in my cardio. Dalton recommends that you study ethics in the 48 hours prior to the exam, and I highly recommend that. There's a lot of Patrick's shaking his head. The ethics questions are actually tough unless you've just looked at it within the last 48 hours, because you'll see, just like you see in the practice exams, the questions, how they ask them, the words they might use will try to trick you into thinking something differently. And that's what I found with the ethics as well. So study that ethics stuff within 48 hours before the exam. And I think that'll give you several questions.
Alan, you said you had done it in 23, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that is an area recently they've continued to add like case studies and questions over there I put it above. I think somebody came in after the CFP board website and their webinars and stuff in the last couple of years have been pretty good resources also that I forgot to mention at the beginning.
Excellent. No, that's very, very true. You just remind me of something else. What do I want to say? Also in that last 3 to 4 weeks, start working on your brain dump. What are you gonna come in and like right at the start of the exam? I did this during the classes, taxation class, which was I think the most difficult and the most number of things you had to memorize. And so having the brain dump is important. And I'd use the Uber, what is the financial planning process? Put that down, because the questions on that are kind of tricky too. So the words they use in the question will make you confused unless you write it down and know what those are specifically. Options 4-square chart, huge. You don't have to think about it. Yeah, I try to limit how much you have to use your brain, because it's a long time you're going to be using it. The bond teeter-totter, there's probably 4 questions there where I didn't have to think at all. I just had that bond teeter-totter, and I just knew the answer right off, and just quickly moved on. And then the tax formula, like I put that down as well, because kind of like what's above the line, below the line, I didn't want to have to think about that during the exam either, and so that I found to be effective. Trying to think anything else those were ones
I
that,
think to
yeah,
add on to that is like understanding what's on the formula sheet and the tax tables, like what is already given to you that
yeah,
you don't need to memorize, I think is
exactly.
important.
And the
There are
formula,
some numbers, right, that you do need to just know, but there's a ton of information that you don't need to know that you can just look at the tables for.
yeah, and so that's another point that I have. And on the formulas are confusing as hell. If you just have that formula sheet, you're like, what the hell is this? So you gotta practice with that sheet before to know what all the variables are, and so when you see it, you know how to actually apply those formulas. Because I mean, that formula sheet is not very helpful to you hand it to the average person, like, what the hell is this? So making sure you understand that. And agreed. So also on the last 3 to 4 weeks, start looking at those tax tables that are provided. They don't give it to you. You've got to scroll through it on the exam. And so what I started doing each morning, that's what I started going through towards. Um, uh, I'd go through the tax tables, and that way I knew where everything was at, because it was more like, I think I know this answer already, but let me verify, because last thing I want to do is mess up a little number. But I knew exactly this was on page 5, so I knew, could scroll down quickly, check, okay, that's good, and then move on. The same. I took the guaranteed to pass, and so we got the quick sheets as well. And those were something I reviewed in that last month as well. Was it's going through like one quick sheet every morning and just getting an idea of. It's just good. It was just good review on all different things. Is anybody not sure what the quick sheets are? And hopefully we can, if anybody has you get them for free with the guaranteed to pass. I dropped those into the Facebook group, but those are 2023, so we need the newest ones that have the most latest material. But that'd be something nice if somebody could drop those in the Facebook group. But I went through those. Adrian, I'll invite you to the Facebook group. The Let's see. Also, if you can take the week off before the exam, do it. That way you just don't have, it's just another thing that you don't have to worry about your day job. I couldn't take the whole time off, but I took Wednesday afternoon. I took it on Monday. So I took Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, and then I had Saturday and Sunday. So I had, almost a 5 day where all I was doing was, okay, just getting final gear up for the CFP exam. And that worked out well for me. The Like I said, studying. I did the quick sheets, and then I started going through kind of quick through them every day. Shelly, you got a question?
Yeah, where are the quick sheets on Dalton's website? Do you remember?
They mailed them to me with the guaranteed to pass. They get sent hard copies of them. I
Okay.
would call them being on their website. Patrick, do you know if that's? Oh, you did Boston and
Sorry, I don't know
anyway.
that one.
Yeah, Dalton's guaranteed pass, but they haven't mailed anything to me.
Okay, I would call them. They're actually, Dalton's good. They're good people, and they just call them up and say, hey, where is this? And what I did was I cut them up, so I had them in a binder. I cut them the full page, but they come in this like fold out thing, and I just cut them into individual pages. So I put them into sheet protectors and could flip through them in a binder, and then I scanned them and sent them to other people. But I would just call Shelly, and they'll probably answer that quickly, and say, okay, when are you mailing these? Let's see, others. So I had that all in a 3-ring binder. I had the quick sheets, the tax tables, and the formula stuff. And so I started going through that. I had made note cards. I wish I'd started note cards earlier, and I hand wrote note cards, because you retain much more that you write than you do if you typed or if you didn't write anything. So let's see. And then, like I said, I was quickly reviewing all the notes from all the live classes and office hours to make sure I'd seen everything at least once in those last few weeks ahead of the exam. And so I wasn't tricked by some simple question. The practice the brain dump daily, just writing it down in the morning. Already said about the ethics. Go through the flashcards that you have and then start whittling down what you don't know. But flip through those. I brought those in. People say don't study it on the test day. I've always kind of done that anyway. But I went in with, and it's kind of my way almost to relax, I guess. I'm just kind of doing the last little look. And then I shove those flashcards in the locker. And you know what? You can actually go and look at those flashcards again on your lunch break. By the way, people don't realize that, but you can get access to your locker only on that break, not when you're in that 3 hours of the exam, but on the 40 minutes between the two halves, you can actually go in there. So yes, I did take the practice exam by the CFP board, Armando. I recommend doing the Dalton one and doing the CFP prep one and doing the second of the Dalton prep. The Dalton preps are harder, but the CFP board is probably a little more accurate in what you'll likely see in terms of challenge, how difficult it is. Let's see.
I think you got to be careful there. A lot of the times they use outdated questions in there. And so I think I would treat it as, you're right, your provider. So Dalton is going to have questions that are going to prepare you better. But the other thing that's good about the CFP board one is it prepares you for the format. This is exactly what to expect on exam day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Shelly, and it depends on what's good for you. I would definitely have the options, the 4-square chart, the bond teeter-totter. I also put the financial planning process so that, that Uber is a drunk person's, but I wrote that out right away too, so that I knew which step it was. And then I wrote what the first word was, not Uber, but understand, the specifics, because those questions are kind of weird how they ask them to. They try to trick you into saying it's step 2 when it's really step 4. So you just have to know what they're asking. And I would highlight specific words when you're going through the exam, to make sure you're answering the right question. I have some funny Navy stories, Zach, you probably know, of especially being a nuke when we'd answer the question wrong. They had some nice acronyms for us. But let's see, what else was, sorry, I was missing one. Okay, case study problems. Those are probably the hardest part, and everybody has their own way, what works for them. I didn't read the whole question because it's a long thing, and you're like, what the hell are they going to ask? But I did read the first paragraph or two, just so that I had an idea of what the hell this was about. You know what I mean? Like, who are the people in here? And then I'd scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's 3 or 4 questions, and then it's going to be 3 or 4 pages you got to go through to answer all the questions for this case study. But I quickly got an idea, okay, just a paragraph or 2, scroll down, what are the questions? And then I went and searched for the answers to those questions. And some it won't be apparent, and they might be hard. Flag it, answer it, flag it, and move on. You can't spend too much time. So, but that was my most effective method, was, okay, have a bit understanding. Now let's go see what the hell they're asking about. Look at those 3 questions. Go and find those answers, flip to the next page, and keep doing the same thing. Go scroll right immediately down to the bottom. What questions are they asking? And then go, thanks, Armando, the above and below, the tax formula, what's above and below AGI. But does that make sense? That's how I got through the case studies quickly. And then there's a point where you're like, I don't know, just flag it, move on. The important thing is answering all the questions and with time. So, don't spend too much time. If you don't know, answer, flag, and move on. Dry run going to the test center ahead of time. And I would do that a week, the same day you're going, I took it on Monday, go Monday during rush hour, when you're going to go to the exam at 8 a.m. or whatever. Make sure because it's a different testing center than when I took all the classes. So I hadn't been in this test center before. You go in, talk to the people, and see, well, what time do I need to arrive here? You could, I realized, you can bring in water if you have a clear bottle, but if you don't, you can't. So going and seeing the process of checking in and everything, it just took away one more stress that you don't need on game day. You know what I mean? And so That's something I recommend everybody do. I know some people don't live close, and so I was fortunate in that respect. If you haven't, so my wife, she studied for architecture exams back when we were in DC, and it was a testing center in another city. So we went and spent the night ahead of time there, and we did a test run. So if that's your case, take the night, spend the night there before, since you're not trying to race, drive several hours or something like that. Get familiar with the area, and same thing, do a dry run, at least so you know where everything's at. That way you just minimize any anxieties, because it's already a hell of an exam. Okay, anybody have any questions? We'll roll into using OneNote. Let's see, brain dump. I think aside from options, teeter-totter, financial planning process, bond options, Foursquare chart, tax formula, above and below AGI, those are things I definitely put in. Patrick, any other ones you think that are good that they should?
Can't think of any off the top of my head. Maybe some of the like education tax credit type stuff, but that's pretty niche, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alan, I gotta head out now. Thanks again for doing these sessions, and good luck to everyone that's headed towards the exam, if it's this cycle or a future one.
Yep. Thanks, Patrick, and thanks for your input and everything. Very helpful.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, if you guys are good, now we'll go into OneNote. Are you guys? Does anybody use OneNote? Okay. So everybody see that? Okay. Okay. So is that too small? I'm going to make this larger. It looked like I saw you. Okay, let's go 150. Okay,
Can you see the website too?
But yeah, I'm doing that on purpose because this part of the demo is showing how to use the browser as well with OneNote. But so I got into OneNote when I was getting ready to do my MBA. I was like, how the hell am I going to keep everything organized, all the curriculum? And so I looked at different things, and I came across OneNote, which is a Microsoft Office product. That's what I use: Word, Excel, so instantly compatible with everything. And I was like, this is perfect way for organizing. And it's like having large notebooks that you can get as nerdy as you want. So in our MBA program, there was themes, and each theme would have like 3 or 4 classes. So I'll click here and go to theme 3. So what I did was under let me go back. This is the book, the USC EMBA, San Diego 12. That's the notebook I created. And then these were different sections you have that you can then go and have pages and subpages. But what's cool about OneNote is you can have multi-section groups. So that's what I did with all the themes, is I made a multi-section group, which if you come up here on the top, you just right click, you can have this group or a new section group. And if it's a section group, now you click on here. Whoops. And then you can add all of these additional sections in here, however you want to organize it. But it allows you to get even more and more organized. I'm going to delete that one. But in theme 3, yes, yeah.
What's the difference in a section group and a page?
Okay, so so what I'm showing you right now is a multi-section group for theme 3. Under theme 3, at the top here, you see these different sections: admin, and then the classes: marketing, leadership and organizational management, finance. And then under each of these sections, that's where you see the pages. You see on the right here. So I'm in leadership and organizational management, and on the right is where all the pages are. And so what I did was, like, all these professors, they had like emails, deliverables, case studies, slides, and lectures. And so I made those pages and then sub pages for these other items. And like that's easy to do. Like here, we're on, what slide are we on? But I would print all the slides to OneNote, which I'll show you how to do that in a minute here. But then I would go in during the lecture, and same thing with the CFP studies when they're doing the classes. I'd have all these already printed to OneNote in that page, and then I'd go and write notes as I'm listening to it. So with it, I'd be listening like on the laptop and I have an iPad, or when I was doing the MBA, I had a Microsoft Surface, so something where you could write on. And like I said, writing, you retain much more writing than you do typing or other forms. So if you can write in your own pen, my penmanship's terrible, but I can read it. But I would write the notes right in, in these notes, and I'll show you how you guys print. But that's how I got very good with OneNote just quickly by playing around with it. And we'll create something here. But then my CFP study, how many of you are any of you guys going to the American College for your studies? Because here's what I created this CFP study notebook too, and I had all the classes that I took. And then you'd see up here all the sections I created that had keynotes and discussions. So I've got the whole CFP curriculum basically all here. Here's lesson 1. This is all insurance. The discussions we did, the quizzes, and so you have all the material there. Then when I did the Dalton Prep course, same thing. What I did was made a multi-section group for the Dalton Prep course. Trying to select it now, if it'll. Okay, so, and then Dalton Prep course, you see here, I made all these different sections for it. Getting started just with, the basic stuff that they had showing. Wow, it's slow, sorry. But here's like the schedule they had. And so this, like I said, this is what I tried to keep to as much as I could. And I would check things off. So there I scanned what I actually did, so you guys could see that, but added this in. And so as I was going through their schedule, I just checked off what I did to keep myself organized. And but here, like the key things in the Dalton Prep course, you had live classes where you get these as a slide decks. And so I would just print those to OneNote. And then while they were lecturing, I would take notes, just write, you could write notes. Sorry, it's a little slow. But I could write notes explaining what, like the difference between, like right here, 706 versus 709. 6 feet under, like so 706 is for when people are dead. 709 is when they're alive. Like little things that you'd remember. But this, you print it and then you just write your own notes as you're listening to class. And here I'm going to show you guys real quick. Here's I'm just opening up this file that's and showing you how I printed this off. So this is the estate planning one, which is the current notebook we're on. Okay. See, and so you can see here on the Adobe what I've got here. All you have to do is, when you get these slide decks, these soft copies, you just print, see how it's your printer, OneNote, the desktop is one of the options. So you just print to it. And this will take a minute because there's so many pages, but I'll show you quickly what you can do then once this is uploaded. Also, another quick, what I forgot to say earlier, when you're going to these classes, they're long. They're like 3 hours long. Well, when they're done, don't just hang up everything and go about your rest of your day. Go use the restroom, whatever you need to do, but go back and take 10 minutes 5-10 minutes and relook at everything you just did. They've proven that if you don't review the stuff within the first 15 minutes, you lose like 80%, 5% of the material, but you retain nearly 90% if you just take that 5 to 10 minutes to review it again at the end of the class. So do that. Makes a huge difference. While that's still loading, boy, I should have picked a smaller file to print. But you'll see why I'm doing this in just a second. Okay, come on. But that's how, like, you can come up with whatever sections you want. And like I said on the, like here for, I printed all the quick sheets here as well. But like I said, you can also make, for organizing pages and subpages, all you come up here to do if you want to make this a subpage is you right click on it and you see you can make it a subpage and then it falls under that, or you can just use your cursor and move it back and forth. See how I just made it a subpage, made it a subpage, a subpage. I mean, you can get as nerdy as you want as far as, you know, I've found basically pages and subpages was all I needed. But okay, I think this finally, oh, nope, it's still going. But this, these, I would listen, like I said, I'm trying to find one. I'll just do it anyway. I'll just go to one of these live classes. Oh, there we go. Okay, you guys see that? Now it's asking me, where do you want to print this one in OneNote? And I went to, let me go back to live classes. Live classes, okay. And then you'll see here, it's gonna pull up. It's just taking a second because it's such a long file. Okay, now you see that printout. Now that's just printed out, it's all right here. And now I've got my iPad just to show you guys something here when it pulls up. Okay, so it's taking a second for the content to become available. Actually, I'll just go to this one. Okay, so on a state, you can, here's the cool thing, like with your pen, you can just okay, let's see. Now it's going to show up in a set. So you can, you know, take now. That's what I did is take these notes, and then sometimes you want to move things around. You can lasso. Like I just clicked lassoing this, and you can lasso all the words. Give it a second for you guys to see that, and then move it. But I just lassoed it on the iPad, and you can just move it wherever you want. I mean, it's just cool things that you can do. Real quick, anybody have any questions on what you can do here with some of the things with OneNote or executing it? How to? Okay, I'm going to shut this real quick and go explain a few more things. I'm going to create a notebook real quick just for you guys on the fly, just so you can see how to do this as well. Just file and create whatever notebook name it is. Let's see, sample notebook. Okay, create. And you can instantly share these with people if you're interested in, and give them either viewing access or, you know, or editing access as well. So I just created right here a new book, sample notebook down there at the bottom, and then let's create a new section group. So let's go section 1 section group. Okay, and you can go in here and then create your own sections. Section 1. Whoops. 2. Section 3. You know, and you can create as many multi-section groups within a book as you think is essential. But now we've got these 3 sections made in here. Now you can go create pages. It always starts with 1 page already. So let's go page 1. Let's pull this one down below it. Let's make this one subpage 1. So go into untitled page 1, and then you can put whatever notes you want. You know, print. You can do file printouts in there. You can insert a file printout, a file attachment. You can insert spreadsheets, however you want to do it. Other great things you can do is do snapshots. Like, let's say you're listening to a lecture where they don't give you the slide decks, but they have this, you know what I mean, the video is going or the audio is going and it's showing slides. You can just do a snapshot and go, like what I'll do, I'll show you guys here with the browser. Real quick, I'm just going to do a snapshot of this education and training page. Okay, let's say that was something important you wanted to know. Bam, snapshot, Control V, you know, paste right into your document, and then you can take whatever notes you want to do right there. Let's see. I use this also for as a program manager for keeping notes, you know, and I would do this. Well, I was, you know, the finance manager for the HOA, and I would do my notes right on here, and then you can instantly email your notes to people under the home email page. And this was very helpful. You ever go to meetings where minutes don't come out for like a week? And you're like, well, I don't remember what the hell happened in that meeting. This 5 minutes, you're there. People can go, hey, you forgot this, or you know, they can make updates right away. But it's beautiful. So it's multi-purpose. I started using this for everything. Like, let's see, I go shopping. You guys buy the same stuff at the store, groceries in general? Pretty much, not the same every time, but in general, it's the same damn thing. So I have, I made shopping lists of Costco, Trader Joe's, and I just made their to-do lists. Oh, but hey, we're out of time. Uncheck. And then this syncs with my phone, with my iPad, with my laptop, whatever. And so I have a running, you know, list of things that I want. I do a lot of barbecue, kind of the same stuff. So I just have a standard list here, and then take a look. Hey, we're going to do smoked pulled pork, and you know, what do I need? What ingredients do I need? Just have the running checklist right here. Menus, we eat the same places a lot. Wife has gluten allergy, so places that wouldn't describe what they were, I could write down what was gluten free, so I didn't have to remember it. Let's see, recipes. What do you guys like to? Here's my list of recipes. So another multi-section group. So barbecue beef, poultry, fish, pork. You know, what have you? And what do you guys, Zach? What do you like to eat?
Beef, Alan, beef.
Beef. So let's go brisket recipe. How about, since we just had some great brisket in San Antonio. Okay, so let's go. Yep, Texas style. We'll do that. So here you can, any website, you can quickly print right to OneNote. So I'm going to go keep my section in the, but you see here the Chrome extensions on the top. You can get a OneNote. I'll just on a separate page go OneNote, Chrome. extension. Okay, so you just go, I just Googled here, and you can just, I've already got it on Chrome, but if you don't have it, you just add that, add that to Chrome. And then going back to this recipe, you can go right here on the Chrome extension and go, I want to print that page to OneNote so that I have it. And then it'll pull up different options for you. A lot of times you don't want all the stupid ads in there. So you're like, let me just do the article. I'll let it pull this up for a second though. Actually, I'll just do it. Now you just got the article. You can just do this. Or you could just do a snapshot of a region, like, oh, I just want to, this part, which of course this is useless on a recipe, but you get the point. But you can just snapshot a certain region, and it'll print that to OneNote wherever you want. Or you can do the full page, and then you select here where you want it to go. The other thing is you can go, let's go jump to recipe. That's what I usually do with these, and look at, okay, and you guys got the chance to print, right, the recipe. So let's print, but guess what? You don't have to, you can just print it right to, just like everything else, you can print it right to OneNote. So give it a second. Sorry, the internet's so slow. That's pathetic. Wow, it's slow. Sorry about that. Okay, so under the print options, print to OneNote, print, and then give it a second, and you'll see it pop up here. And I always change like when I do recipes, I'm like, let me adjust that. I don't like that much mayonnaise or whatever. Like, and so let's see. So and now it's telling me where do you want it? I want it in the beef current section. Okay, voila. There's your Texas style. Now, when I go in the kitchen with my iPad, I've got this right here. Like, okay, what do I need? Done. It's convenient. This same thing, like workouts. You can do all your exercise, however you want. Here's diet and exercise. So all different things from cold plunging, CrossFit, running, rowing, strength. You can just put whatever you want there, and you just have it forever. List of different exercises you want to do. Like I like rowing as well. So there's 11 different options, or a bunch of different options where just think, what do I want to do if I don't want to just do a standard, zone 2 or a certain type of interval. Okay, questions. I've been rattling on this stuff for a bit, but what questions do you have about using OneNote? Do you guys see how this can be very effective for, I'll go back to the CFP. I also have one just for, my own business that I started with a bunch of different, things that I used. For those of you that are veterans or military spouses, there's a lot of good entrepreneurship courses that the IVMF offers. Like I did the Veterans in Residence. So that's right here, a whole book that talks about all the different, parts of starting your own business.
Good. Thank you. Okay,
you guys got to have some questions though. I know I was just rattling on, but trying to get through showing, does it make sense how to create these notebooks and
Hi, Alan. I have a question.
Go ahead.
And earlier you would crop some pictures on the website and instantly into the OneNote, right?
Yeah.
And do you do that on the computer or on the iPad as well?
You can do it on either. Typically, like for me, that works better on the laptop just because of real estate space, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I've got a large monitor. Whereas, just on a laptop or an iPad, you can do it however you want. and snapshot it and save it. But for me, that works better. For me, when I'm on the laptop and I can just be listening to. I can have OneNote open in a separate window, like I have right now. I've got the browser here. I can be listening to, like I was just finishing the RACP recently, and so I'd be in that class, and they don't have the slide decks. But when they're going through all the videos, they go through all these slides. And so I'll just show you guys that right now. So what I did, this, let's go. So here's, none of these were provided to you, but I'm listening to them. So as I'm listening to them and they get towards, hey, transitioning into retirement, I take a snapshot and then immediately go into the OneNote notebook and paste it. And so,
Yeah.
Yep.
That function only available in the laptop version, right? But the iPad, I don't think that.
You can always snapshot anything. It's just, how do you snapshot with the iPad? You got to press the two buttons together, right?
Yeah, I have a newer version one, so I just like swipe from the bottom left corner, and then so you still have, I still have to like insert the picture afterwards.
And you still have to do that anyway, just like this. Like you see the browser I have open here, which like this thing, it says collect your favorite recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to section 6 at the very bottom. Actually, I'll just go to my new notebook that we've created here. Sample notebook, section 1. I'll say, I'll change this name to recipes, since that's what we're looking at. Okay, and okay. So I'm in this page, which I'll say recipe 1. And then I print screen over here, the little, dang it. That's what I don't like. But sometimes my big monitor screen, it's the lighting changes when I do the snapshot. Let me see if I can find one. Print screen. Doesn't look so bad. Okay, but you can go like this. So I just snapshotted it, and then all I do is Control V. So you still have to go into OneNote and paste it.
Awesome.
But and you can do that from the iPad. You just have to, with the iPad, I'd probably get quick about using the command, tab, so that you can switch between applications quickly. So you snapshot it, quickly switch applications to OneNote, paste it, and then, command tab back to the program you're using where you took the snapshot from. Make sense?
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Could you show me again how to add the extension? Like I went to the website, but I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, so, and what you can do could be like, just go Google, and you can just go to Chrome extensions, but it's OneNote, right? So you just go OneNote, Chrome extension, press enter, and then it goes up, pulls up the top thing, just click on that, and then it's right here. So if I already have it added, but if you don't, this remove from Chrome button will say add to Chrome, and you just click on that, and then it pops up here on the top, and then you can control which extensions you use.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you went to the Chrome Web Store. I went to the OneNote website. Okay, Chrome Web Store.
Yeah, just it's it's a Chrome application, not OneNote, really.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on the iPad. Maybe like the different. Added to. Yeah, I'll figure that out.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have a laptop?
I do, but I prefer use my.
Because I don't know if you can. There's an issue. I remember trying to add extensions. So you probably want to use snapshots more from the iPad. The Chrome extension I use always for, that's on my laptop, and it works great. So if I can do, when I'm listening to lectures, I do it typically from the laptop. If I'm gonna have to do a bunch of snapshotting, it's just more fluid because I have these two big windows open, right? And all I'm doing is snapshot, paste, snapshot, and I can keep going through it, the information quickly. Whereas if I'm on an iPad, then I'm going back and forth between applications. It's kind of slows me down. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, what else? What other, okay, what other questions do you guys have? What would be more helpful, like that I didn't touch on, that you have questions about? Nothing? You guys have to have some questions.
Oh, another question I have.
Yep.
Like you can extract, like get the like text from a picture. I think that I got it somewhere, but I couldn't know how to do it. Like if you have a recipe book and then you
Yeah.
don't want to keep the picture, but you just want to keep the steps, the text from the picture. Would you be able to do that? Can you?
You can, and I would still probably you could probably just snapshot that. The tough thing, you can't really crop very well in OneNote that I've seen, but you could just snapshot the text, and then actually, like if you go in here into OneNote, one of the things you can do, like I printed all these PowerPoints, right? So it's images kind of rather than words. But watch this. You can, let me go, actually, I'll go back to the MBA one where I know there are actually, no. Okay, where was the live classes? There we go. Here, okay. So what you can do here, I'm going to select. Do you see how I selected? I selected this this item. You can go and right click and say make text and image searchable. Bam, and then you can go and check anytime, like what's something. Let's say 1035 exchange. Dang, I forgot that. You can go up in the search bar and find all the different places where that's mentioned, and just kind of scroll down and be like, which one is it? And you just pull up wherever it's at and say, oh, 1035. There's different examples, but everything's searchable, and you can make text that isn't technically text. It figures out how to read it as English, so you can search for it. Does that answer your question, Zoram?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. What other questions you guys got? Okay, well, if that's it, then I think that's all I have. Hopefully you guys found that be helpful. And if you have questions, let me know. I'll post the recording. I have a YouTube page, so I'll post it up there as well, and a link in the Facebook group. Adrian, I don't think I'll send you a friend request.
Want me to send you my Facebook link?
Yeah, if you would. And then what I'll do, because then I can invite you to that group. So, okay.
Cool. Alan, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. And if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Like I said, once this compiles, I'll post it both on the YouTube and a link in the Facebook group.
Cool. How early do you recommend starting? My only question. Like, let's see. When I took it the first time, I started about 12 weeks before. How early do you like to start, or did you start?
So actually, good question. And it's about 15. When you look at the prep courses, our Dalton one's about 15 weeks. So I'll just go here, and actually I'll go right through here. Check this out. So here's let me scroll to the bottom here, and you can backtrack. okay, our exam dates back in 2023 were the 10th through the 16th. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 weeks. You know, and so it depends, Zach, it depends on which program you're using and what theirs is, but that's about right. 14 to 15 weeks is probably probably about right.
Cool.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. Anybody?
Cheers.
Anybody
We'll
else?
see us. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Well, thanks everyone. Have a good rest of the day,
Alan.
and best of luck on what I look forward to hearing all of you pass your CFP exams.
Let's
Thanks for
do
the
it.
help.
Cool.
Thank you.
Take care. Yep.